All right, here we go. So I have already put a bunch of videos in the folder under extra help or extra videos because all of this was taught in Algebra 1, Geometry, and in Algebra 2, okay? Factoring never goes away. So if you don't understand what we do, then there's more videos already in there. So we are factoring trinomials in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Y'all, this is just simple factoring. It's just worded fancy, okay? So this first plus or minus sign, this tells you what the big number is going to be. So the sign of the big number. So it's a positive, my big number is positive. If it's negative, my big number is negative, okay? The plus or minus sign in the back. If it's a positive, that means my signs have to be the same. And if it's negative, that means my signs have to be different. Before you begin any factoring problem, you need to make sure that you check for a GCF before you begin. When a equals 1, meaning there's nothing in front of my x squared, you can make an eye chart. Do you have to make an eye chart? No. If you know your multiplication, you don't have to make an eye chart, but I'm going to teach it that way really quick for those who need it, okay? So x squared plus 5x plus 4. This plus sign at the end tells me my signs will be the same. They will either be plus and plus, or they will be minus and minus. This symbol right here has to go with the big number. When I make an eye chart, it goes backwards. So the letter C is at the top and the middle number is at the bottom. I need numbers that multiply to 4. So the only numbers that multiply to 4 are 1 and 4, 2 and 2. Now, between 1 and 4 or 2 and 2, what numbers either add or subtract to get me to a 5? 1 and 4. So I have x plus 1 and I have x plus 4. These are the factors. And if I multiply them together, I will get x squared plus 5x plus 14. Okay? So if you need an eye chart, make an eye chart. If you don't need an eye chart, don't make an eye chart. That's up to you. So negative tells me my signs will be different. This negative goes with the big number. So at the top of my eye chart would be a negative 18, and at the bottom would be a negative 7. I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. How can I get a negative 7? 9 and 2, what about 9 and 2? Negative 9, positive 2. So x plus 2, x minus 9. Questions? Yes, ma'am? No, this is the same thing. Oops, x minus 9 times x plus 2 is the same answer, but your negative has to be with the correct number, okay? All right, questions about that? All right, then let's go to letter B. What happens when A is not equal to 1? I am going to teach you the slide divide method because I think it's the easiest. So when A is not equal to 1, we have to make it equal to 1. So we slide or we multiply. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 15. So I have x squared plus 16x plus 4 times 15 is 60. Now my x squared is by itself, so I can make an eye chart. So 60 is at the top and 16 is at the bottom. Numbers that give me 60, 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20. All of these numbers, I didn't make my eye chart very big. 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and, oh, that's the one I need, 6 and 10. Oops, sorry, there we go. Okay, so what numbers can I use to get to 16? 6 and 10, and since it's positive, it'd be x plus 6, x plus 10. Here's the part you're going to forget. I multiplied by 4 at the very beginning. I have to undo it. So I have to go divide by 4. Can 6 be divided by 4? No, but it can be simplified, 3 halves. Can 10 be divided by 4? No, but it can be simplified, 5 halves. Now listen. You cannot have fractions, okay? So the people in the basement have to join the party. So they're going to come up here. So it's going to say 2x plus 3, which makes my second parenthesis say 2x plus 5. Okay, and that would be your 2 factors. Question?
I was asking before you multiply. So is it only like when there's a number
in front of x squared? Okay, but be careful, because if I gave you something that said this and you multiplied 2 times 8, you're wasting your time, because what do you notice about this? It has a GCF. So then I have an x squared plus 2x plus 4. Now, do I have anything to slide and divide? No, it's just made your problem a lot less work, okay? So always check if the coefficient is a GCF. All right, see if you can do number 4 for me real quick. You stopped at x plus 6 and x minus 1, then you forgot the most important step. So really quick, where did I get 6 from? I slid. The 2 times 3 is the 6. I know that it's only 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. Those are the only numbers that can give me 6. Now, here's where you're going to make mistakes. I can have 1 and 6, 2 and 3, but I need a positive 5. So if you told me -2 and -3, or +2 and +3, that would give me 5, but do positives multiply to give me a -6? So you gotta be careful. I'm telling you right now, the numbers 12, 24, and 36, there are a lot of possibilities that can trip you up, okay? Question on part 1. Ready to go to the second part? All right, special cases. Let's see here, we can switch pen colors, that way it's not as crazy. So special cases, difference of squares. Squares means a perfect square. What's an example of a perfect square? 9. What's another perfect square? 25, 4, 81, 36. Okay, perfect squares are the perfect square root numbers. So when I have a squared minus b squared, I can rewrite this as A plus B and A minus B. So x squared minus 49. Well, the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 49 is 7. So I know that I will have an x plus 7 and an x minus 7. See if you can do number 6. What are your perfect squares? So you need basically the square root number. Okay. So I knew that 9n squared would be 3n and 64 is 8. Y'all, why does this work? Because when I multiply, let's go back to example 5, because it's easy to see with just an x and a number. X times x is x squared, correct? What is x times negative 7? Negative 7x. What's 7 times x? 7x. So what happens to a negative 7x and a positive 7x? They cancel out. All right. Number 7. Are those perfect squares? Oh, so what do you think it has? A greatest common factor. What can I divide 12 and 75 by? By 3. So then I will have 4a squared minus 25. Now I have perfect squares. You better keep your GCF in front or your answer's wrong. 4a squared would be a 2a, and 25 would be 5. And then, of course, I need the positive version. It only works with perfect squares. If this first one was a 3 and a 25, you can't do it because they're not both perfect squares. Okay? Questions? We're going too fast? Good. Here we go. Last one. Perfect square trinomials. A perfect square trinomials. Okay? Now, this is a shortcut, but you can still use an eye chart and slide divide. You'll get the same answer. So if you don't see it right away, then that's fine. Use an eye chart or slide divide. You'll get an answer. Same one. Okay. So a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. This symbol, the first symbol, can be positive or negative. The last symbol always has to be positive. So this is why I think this is confusing. I think it's easier just to use slide divide or a eye chart, and it's quicker because it's the same process you've been doing, okay? So how do I write this? This has to be a plus b, and this has to be a plus b. Now, this can be a positive or a negative depending on what your symbol here is, but they have to be the same, okay? And if I have two things that are exactly the same, I can write it one time and just put a squared answer. So here's how it works. I'm looking at the first term and the last term. Are they both perfect squares? Yes. Okay, so I know that this is m and this is 3. Everybody agree? So I'm going to have an m and a 3 squared. And how do I know what symbol to put in the center? It's whatever symbol's in the center of your problem. So number 9, sorry, has a 4x squared and a 25. Are they both perfect squares? Yes. So this 4x squared would be a 2x, and 25 would be a 5. So how will I write it? 2x with a 5. And then since this is a plus sign, I get a plus sign squared. So the last one, same thing, first term and last term. 9b squared would give me a 3b, and a 4 would give me a 2. So this is a 3b and a 2 squared, and what symbol is going to go in between there? A negative, a minus. Promise, same thing. If I were to times this, get 36, make an eye chart and divide, you get the same answer. Yes, ma'am. The middle term, no. The middle term just tells you what symbol to use. Okay. Look at me though. If you cannot memorize this, do not stress over this. Between you and me, I think it's silly to have to memorize what it has to look like. But if you can see right away that the first term and last term are squared, first term and last term are squared, then use it. It's not a requirement. There's nothing on your test that's going to say you may not show work for this problem. Okay. All right. Are there any questions? Then as of right now, you are just practicing the next page. I think there's 28 problems. Okay. So you are just practicing this page to get your answers. If you need me to check them, I will be happy to. Yes. Yes, so number 7, I had to take a GCF out first. No matter what type of problem it is, you have to check for GCF first. And then once I took a GCF, I noticed 4 is a perfect square and 25 is a perfect square. Okay. Greatest common factor. So it's the biggest number that you can divide